Afternoon. Another version of Ask Us Anything with my buddy Greg Walters. And I'm
Hello, Art. How are you?
doing well. How about you?
Jolly as heck. 23 is gone. I can't believe it was just a week ago.
Yeah. A week ago.
I know. Last year was just a week ago, and now it's. And everyone that I talked to saying the same thing. Yeah, the holidays blew. Every year it's the same thing. Holidays blew through. The weeks between the two. The week between the
Hey,
two is when everyone does stuff, and then now it's like go, 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 go. So
I was told time, as we know, time flies.
yes.
And as we get older, it seems to fly even further. And as somebody once told me, life is like a roll of toilet paper.
Oh God.
Closer you get to the end of the roll, the faster it goes.
Okay, apropos, a little
Yeah,
graphic, but
yeah,
I might use that.
yeah, yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Definitely gets a chuckle here and there.
I love it. I love it.
So
Um,
Friday, 4 p.m., January 12th, almost 2 weeks into the new year.
mhm, mhm.
Um, HP just had a press release about AI in their new notebooks.
Yes, they
Have you read
did.
about that?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So
So
clue
yeah,
me in,
I can. So a while back, maybe a year or so ago, there's another company called Nvidia, right? And
right?
then Nvidia makes the chips.
Right?
What's not known much about Nvidia started off making video graphic boards,
Mm-hmm.
right? And primarily for gaming.
Yeah, for gamers. Yep.
Yep. So if anyone knows anything about gaming, or if when they're graphic intense, right? They want the screen to look as real as possible. So there's all sorts of calculations that have to be done on the computer to make that half pixel like this magenta, whatever it is. It's massively complicated and mathematical. So in the PCs, they have onboard graphics chips, right?
Right.
But they're basic, 1024, high res, very nice resolution,
Right.
but not at the caliber that a gamer would want for that supreme realism. So what Nvidia did was offload that heavy graphic functionality and calculations onto their chip, right? So now you could just plug this board in, and then whenever the high graphics application needed to use that capacity, it would send the commands to that particular chip on that particular board.
Okay.
And as time went on, right, the graphics became more and more, I mean, everything from full motion video, high end games,
Mm-hmm.
on and on and on. And NVIDIA, for some reason or another, became the standard for that. Now, if you think about the mathematical computations that have to be acquired or generated to generate the right graphics, fits in nicely with AI, with how artificial intelligence grabs all sorts of data and does all sorts of calculations. So instead of, calculating different pixel animations and things, we're
Right.
now throwing AI at it. So it was a natural progression that NVIDIA would end up being a de facto standard even in AI. Now, about a year ago, NVIDIA decided that, yeah, we're going to make chips, but we're going to embed artificial intelligence on our chip or on our board so that there will be AI built in. And they even talked about burning in ChatGPT. And what that does is that gives you artificial intelligence engines right on board of your chip, right on your computer. So you don't need to connect to the interwebs,
Really?
grab it, and
Okay.
B, it's now these are all theoretical. I don't know exactly how deep HP went or whatever. But that's the idea, is that you have your AI engine built into the chip. So it's going to be faster, can do a lot more calculations, and it's going to be yours. Those are the benefits of. Um, so with HP coming out with that, it's hard to tell if it's a marketing thingamajigger or how deep and how good it's going to be. Because once you burn in an operating system into a chip, typically it can't be upgraded easily, right?
Right.
Because you get what you get. But I'm sure there's a way that they're nowadays the chips can be changed at the board level. I'm imagining, but I don't know. But in essence, that's what it is, right? And then I think Microsoft decided to put a AI key on the keyboard, whatever that means. I mean, when you push the button, it's supposed to pop up the AI. Now, whether that's going out to the interwebs and pulling down OpenAI or Bard or whatever they're doing. I don't
Right.
know. A year ago I said watch Nvidia, and yeah, I don't know if you remember, their stock is going through the roof. They've got a lead on everyone else's, and I'm pretty sure HP's
Barry
buying
Kirsch.
Nvidia chips. So there it is.
Hang on a moment.
Sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And you know, the biggest interesting thing about it, Art, is that in theory, all our computers could be out of date, right? Could be obsolete because they're not, quote, AI compliant, which would mean a boon for PCs, HP, Dell, all of them. If they started coming out with AI compliant machines, it's a refresh on a global scale.
Right.
You know, that would just boost everything up, right? Every computer out there would have to be replaced by one of these things. In theory. Now, whether that really comes true or not, that's a whole other thing. But I can imagine that if, you know, you've got a machine that can handle AI faster than you're used to right now and be more capable and be yours, if you buy this machine, people are going to buy the machine. So that's it in a nutshell. Yeah,
Interesting. It's
Yeah.
very interesting, especially the first thing I'm thinking about is, you know, ITAD.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
how much, what type is retained on those notebooks and computers now, right? Would be,
Yeah.
especially if it's embedded into the microprocessor.
It's an interesting conundrum, and then there'll be different levels of it to where I can see where corporations would buy or configure their own, for lack of a better term, AI servers, right? So now we go back to that. The server is an AI server. We want it to be secure. Okay, so it's physically on my site or at a site that is physically locked. It's not connected to it's not connected to the internet
Right.
or anything like that. Hang on a second, Art. Hang on.
As we sit, we've got a little bit of pause in the action, and I figure
Yeah,
I'll
be with you.
take
Hold
that.
the script. So Larry's trying to hook in Art.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I don't
Um,
see his alerts. You know, I don't see anybody coming up.
Yeah, Larry, what's the problem? I don't know it offhand. Hang on a second, Larry.
He's got to get in through my site. He's got to go out to the calendar on my website and then click the link on my calendar for January 12th. Yes, and it's pretty interesting. I wonder.
Yeah, the NVIDIA and the HP and the stuff. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yep. You wonder if the next step we start hearing about, like we were speaking about last week, IA starting to get integrated into MFPs, because every MFP comes with my screen just went off.
We're having all sorts of cool stuff.
Every MFP comes with computers. Some are Windows 10 operating systems, OSs, and most are Linux. So interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I think we might have even talked about it before. Is that our industry, because we connect to devices remotely, right? We've got an inside line on how that works. You know, asset management through remote control and stuff like that, machine to machine communications. Here's my issue. You know, AI. My issue with AI is, and it's not just our industry. Artificial intelligence jumps the tank for every industry when you're looking at manual processes, right? And printing is part of that, right? But it's not that big a part of it. It's AI eliminates a lot of those different redundancies and those tasks and those operations that typically are about moving information in a paper or a piece of paper or whatever. It negates that. It shortcuts that. You don't have to generate information onto a piece of paper and then have someone else consume it and then put it into a system and then run on it. It doesn't do that. And even the way we consume information off newspapers and things like that, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how that shakes out. Organizationally, what's going to be weird, Art, is that print volumes are going to be really up to the individual, which is, I think, a good thing for people in the industry. Because right now, people still like to print individually. On the downside, there's 3 generations coming up that don't like, they just know they don't print. So there's a good news, bad news thing in there. But I think, now we're talking about AI in our dealer channel, in our channel. I think ignoring AI right now as a dealer, even as a copier rep, is dangerous, because it's moving so quickly that if you aren't caught up and you aren't using it and you're not familiar with prompting and things like that, your competitor will be.
It's correct.
And the great thing, the biggest mystery in the world is, nobody knows what's going to happen. There's no way to predict that. Yeah, AI is going to do this. We're just all guessing right now.
Yeah, right. So it's pretty much the wild, wild west.
Yeah, and it's on all fronts, all burners, everything. So
Right.
It's nuts.
Yep.
Anyway,
so do you have any questions for me?
I got a question for you. Bringing it back into bringing it home or back down to earth.
Sure.
Art, how do you get net new business? And let me rephrase. That's my question, but let me frame it this way, right? Everything has changed. Everything's the same. Okay, we're in a big catch-22. We've got the environment, the selling environment, and it's, I just got off the phone earlier today with a dealer out of I don't know, the Midwest somewhere, who's been doing it for 25 years in terms of management services, right? And he's said it outright. Yeah, things have changed, right? It's still, he's frustrated that he can't get face-to-face as easy as you once could. And that was never easy, right? I mean, cold calling, you still had to work to get your meetings. Now it seems even worse. What do you think? What are you doing to capture net new business? Net new.
So I think net new for a lot of people is a struggle, especially, again, if they have an existing base of accounts that they've got to manage. I've got an existing base that I need to manage, and I can't devote all of my time to trying to get net new business, right? So you've got to, of course, set aside those, whether you're doing call blocks or whatever, to acquire net new business. I think that new reps actually have an advantage for net new business, because most of them don't start out with an existing base of clients. So basically their entire day is taken up with prospecting. I can maybe do 1 day a week to prospecting, where other reps can, if they don't have an existing base, they can do 40 hours a week for prospecting for net new business. But prospecting and for me, the phone is dead. It's just 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I'll get they're not in, not available, voicemail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to waste my time like that. So, getting back out on the street and knocking on doors is probably one of the best ways to find net new clients. And I think the best way for sales to go about that is to pick out 20 or 30 accounts that they want to stop into, that meet the sales rep's requirements for the customers he wants to engage with, right? So there's an old saying many, many years ago, it takes as much effort to sell one copy machine as it does 4 copy machines, right?
Yeah.
So you wanna focus on those companies that either have multiple devices, multiple locations, or are in the larger have larger machines, or they have an existing print volume that they're doing. They know that you're not going walking into an account where their print volume is waning. You know,
Okay.
it's reducing, right? And again and again, I go back to architects, engineers, construction, right? They're still paper orientated. Then they also value IT services.
Right.
So
Hmm.
I think to get back to your question, I said cold calling in person is excellent, right? When you get out there, because you're going to be at least face to face with somebody, right? You can drop off a card. It's more often that you may see something in that organization that may help you on your next phone call.
Right.
Old machine, how can I say, tons of paper sitting on people's desks.
Right.
Ton,
Yep. The reconnaissance that you do when just
correct,
walking in.
correct. But I believe another way that can help sales reps that a lot of sales reps don't do. They should all have their own freaking blog.
Oh.
Even if it's writing something once a week. And then pop it on LinkedIn, or like you and I used to do, keep it on Blogspot, right? Write something once a week.
So
and you'll start getting it's the push pull mentality, right? For lead generation. Or is it push pull, or is there something, there's another word
no,
for
you're
it?
you're pulling marketing.
Right, you're pull marketing with content. When you're writing content, you're getting pull marketing. And those people are going to, if they consistently, they read your content, or if they're interested, they're going to call you, and you're going to get that interested party, instead of you doing your push marketing, which is, of course, spending oodles of time on phone calls and getting possibly nowhere. I know there's a few people who really enjoy telemarketing. But as you know, nobody likes getting rejected. You can't continually get rejected every day and say, "Oh yeah, I want to wake up and I want to do this again tomorrow." You gotta be fucking crazy.
Well, and yeah, there's no. You said 95%, and you've been doing it for 100 years. I was going to say, have you seen it change? I mean, there was dude. I remember being on the phone and having a blast, right? And then it was even much more fun to be out in the field and knocking on doors, because that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And fun is still knocking on doors. I mean, sometimes if you're, if you're in the right frame of mind and the right attitude, cold calling on the phone can be fun.
Yep.
Right?
It can be.
Well,
this is what I think, Art. I think it changed. 9/11 changed the walk-ins a lot.
9/11 changed the walk-in, and COVID also changed the phone calls.
Yeah.
And you got more people working hybrid, more people working remote. There more hybrid. So maybe that CEO that would be available at 8 or 9 in the morning in the office is now doing some work at home before they go in, or leaving early at 3 p.m. and doing some work at home. Right? I mean, COVID has changed the entire workflow for everybody, because now we have access to everything remotely. We don't have to physically be in the office. The decision maker doesn't physically have to be there.
No. Right. So it's interesting. Every one of those steps or stages that occurred. And I'll use from 9/11 on, and it's probably been even more. I mean, voicemail was a stopper too. Remember how, okay, now all the sales guys just go right into sales calls, go right into voicemail. Receptionists were the gatekeepers, the little pink slips, voicemail, recording machines. 9/11 got rid of receptionists when you walk in the door. COVID dispersed everyone. But what this whole thing has always done or has done is shifted the sales cycle control more towards the customer and away from the salesperson. I mean, it's been happening since the interwebs, because there was a time when if you wanted to know about a widget,
Correct.
you had to engage the
The salesperson.
There was
Yeah,
no way around
that was
it,
correct. That was
you know?
correct. So what's better for that salesperson to write his own or her own content?
Absolutely.
And you just don't you don't see it that often. I mean,
I don't see it at all.
I'm connected to 18,000 sales professionals on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't scour my entire wall every day, but I'm just not seeing. They may have little blurbs on LinkedIn, right? Right. But there's not really a lot of blog content
No,
for
there's
doing that pull marketing.
Well, then here's the other thing, Art, is to think about is, okay, there's 18,000 sales reps out there. Let's assume that, none of them are doing a blog, but they're still selling. So,
Correct.
I mean, how important is it then? I don't,
Mhm.
that's a question. It's like if they're still making money now, without doing the weekly blog.
But don't you want to make more money?
I agree. I mean, I'm just
Right?
posing it out to you. Yeah.
Don't you want so
And
don't
don't you want to do it at,
okay.
make more money without doing as much effort, I
So
guess.
let's move on to something else
Mhm.
I was gonna write about, and everybody's have a little I guess intro into what I'm gonna write in the next day or
Okay.
so. But I was gonna write about net new business and what it takes to most salespeople now have net new quotas on top of their existing quota. So X amount of their annual quota has to have net new business in it, right? So it can be anywhere from 10% to 25% of their annual revenue has to be net new business in order to
Yeah.
either get the President's Club or to hit your bonuses. In some cases, there might even be, I think I've even heard of some companies that draw down their commissions if you don't reach X amount of net new, right?
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
All depends on the plan. So
Right.
how does a salesperson, how can they make sure they're going to get to that annual quota or go above the
That gate.
annual quota?
Right.
Correct. So for a sales rep that has a quota annual, a monthly quota of 60,000 revenue per month,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I've always stated that in your pipeline, your monthly pipeline, you need to have the minimum of $180,000 that will close that month, because you're going to lose 2/3 of it.
Mm-hmm.
So 2/3 is just going to, the people are going to opt out. They're going to get stalled.
Right.
You're going to get ghosted. It's just how the process works. So I believe if you've got 380,000 in your pipeline each and every single month, you could pretty much bank on hitting that 60K, right?
Okay.
So now if your quota is going to be, so if it's let's say it's 120,000 for the year is your net new quota, right? So 10,000 a month, keep the numbers simple. You need to at least have 30,000 of net new
Right.
in your monthly pipeline. But if it's one account, it can't be one account for 30 grand. It's got to be 3 accounts for 30 grand each,
Right.
right? If it's 10, I mean, you would need at least three tens in your quota, right?
Mhm.
So, for a salesman to come back and say, well, so I got one account and it's, it's gonna be a $30,000 revenue. That, okay, I should be fine getting my 10K. Well, no, because the most likely, there's a 67% chance that deal is gonna roll anyway.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you need 3 of those in your pipeline,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So net new is, so we covered a couple aspects of, net new. The one is, I believe, knocking on doors
Okay. Let's
and,
go there. So
and
knocking on doors and then
co-
tripling up your funnel.
correct, and, but also writing content.
Oh, and writing content. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And of course, phone calls, you know, phone calls are still important. But wouldn't it be better if the reason you're calling that account is to schedule the appointment?
Right.
Not
As
to,
opposed to
not to pitch
open.
them, not to pitch them over the phone? If you can get them on the phone? How many times do you answer the phone if you don't recognize a number?
Nope.
How many times do you respond to a LinkedIn solicitation?
Right now I don't, but yeah, I see your point.
You don't respond at all. I even feel bad sometimes not responding to the amount that I get. Every now and then I'll say,
That's
thanks
a whole
for,
nother subject, but
I'll
I can
say,
tell you.
I'll say, thanks for contacting me, but I'm not interested.
Yeah. Here's my take on that. They all suck. There's not been one good approach that I've seen come in
Right,
at all. I mean, it's actually terrible. Just because I clicked on something doesn't mean I'm a lead. Even if I want to, it's that way. But that's just the way it is
right,
right now. And they've got these machines out there just like robo calling, they're robo IMing, and it's like,
right,
dude, come on.
right.
And the content sucks. But anyway, back to your big three. Yeah. Create your own content, triple up on your pipeline. What was the third one? Well, oh yeah,
Knock on
knock
doors,
on doors. Yeah.
knock on doors.
Um, which I agree with. So the knocking on the doors, that I understand and I can see where it's because what I'm saying is, okay, they're not doing it because the sales manager doesn't see a value in whatever or sees more value in. So knock on doors, that should be a gimme. You're tripling up on your funnel. That's just math, right? That should be just
That's
a
correct.
a normal everyday thing. But the blogging or the content generation has been an issue since the very beginning. I mean, it's not just you and I, but other people have said you've got to go out there and create, and it went way too far. You've got to go out there and create some content. Then now, oh, you need to be an influencer. It's like, I don't know if you need to do that, but there's something. I'm wondering, Art, is it at a sales management level where this is falling down? And again, I mean, how would, I mean, I know how I would do it, but how do you evangelize that just by showing them that, you know what I mean? You made 12 blogs last year, and because of those blogs, you sold one account, maybe. See, how do you connect those two?
Right, so
That's
12 blogs is one a month.
one a month,
What
or,
would happen
even if you did
so if those
50.
numbers hold constant, what would happen if you wrote 4 a month,
Right.
right?
Right. If you could make that connection, yeah. And I still think that people, maybe it's me, probably is, but I hear sales managers all the time in my head saying, no, you don't, we're not paying you to write a blog. We're paying you to go knock on doors and bring in my 100 cards a week.
Correct,
That kind of
correct.
stuff.
So depending upon how hungry you are, how much desire you have, um,
Mm,
it takes, for it doesn't take much time to write 500 word content. Why
no.
can't you do that on your own time? I mean, if you're in sales, you are kind of an entrepreneur. It is kind of like your own
It is.
business, right?
Yep.
Why not make the investment into yourself?
Well,
You made the investment into yourself. I made the investment into myself. It has reaped the rewards.
Yeah, Art, and you know what? I hate to say it, but there's a generational thing coming in here, and I don't know how to address that either. I really don't.
How old are
And
you?
Old
There.
enough.
Ask us anything. How old are you? 50s?
Yeah.
Middle 50s?
No, upper 50s.
Upper 50s.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll be 67 in February,
Okay.
right? So we're probably a 10-year spread. Right? So when you were 17 years old, you probably had your first introduction to a PC.
Oh yeah. Even before then. Yeah.
Well, not much before then.
Well, Apple IIe's.
Okay.
70 something. Yeah.
All
So
right.
anyway, yeah.
I wasn't familiar with them. So I had my first introduction to them when I was 80.
Yeah, 81, 82 in that range, right?
Not even 81, 82. I was still fixing analog copy machines, Greg.
Oh boy.
Word, when I started in sales in 81, we were still doing typewriters.
Well, no, that would make sense.
And it wasn't until 85 and 80, 84,
Yep.
85, 86, there was word processors, right?
Yep.
Which was
Smart IBM Selectrics, things like that.
getting people into that type and rearrange, right? But basically it was just
88
text.
was when
So
yeah.
80 at that 86 to 87 range is I think that's, or 88 was when I got my first, or maybe even 89 was when I got my first 286 computer.
Yeah, I
And-
started in 87,
and
August of 87.
Right. And I was at that time, I was 30, 87, 30? I was 30 years old.
So yeah, how does that angle with the new generations coming out and how they don't want to do, or well, how do you say this? I mean, how do the new way of sales with these generations? That's I think what we were talking about. And how are they not digging into creating content?
Not in the right environment that allows them the freedom to
I
create
think
content. Maybe with so many
well,
non-competes and everything like that, people are scared to write about.
Well, I think what happened in the, you know what, this is a huge subject. Okay, so we've got the generations going. We even got, we had at one point some of these dealers who didn't want their people writing about this because it might make them look bad if he's got shoddy content out there. There's that
Correct.
part. And then, but see, now there is the generation that's coming up. They're used to being on the computer. They're used to doing whatever it is they're doing, throwing content out there.
Right.
Maybe they're not used to, but boy, I hate to say this. Who wants to write about copiers?
Well, you don't have to write about copiers. You can write about
Right.
write about IT. You can write about document management, or the shift is from writing content to video content.
Yeah, that's true. But heck, it's easier just to do. Well, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, there's one guy that we know that does a great job at the video content.
Oh yeah,
What do
well, I mean, he does a job.
Yeah, he does a great job at the video content and he's gotten a lot of followers with it. The point is that you can say, that's that pull marketing, right? Even the video, the writing is pull content, but there's just not enough doing it. To me, putting a couple sentences and a picture on LinkedIn, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I got to, I'll go with you on this one, Art. It's so much easier nowadays. I mean, LinkedIn is the de facto platform,
correct,
right? So you can go out there and write an article on LinkedIn, which is effectively a blog. Now it's not universal, although it could be found by Google, but the good thing is it's aimed right at your niche.
right? But when you write about it, it stays with you
Right.
all the time. When you just do a post on LinkedIn, it's more like a newspaper. It's read today, gone tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
You're not going to see it on, you're not going to see it on the wall again unless somebody
Right.
shares it with you, right? Right.
Mhm.
Or if somebody makes a comment,
Right. But that, you're right.
it's going to
There's a
get
bell
buried.
curve. It's a sharp up and down bell curve. Right. 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 So there's the thing. If you put a blog together, you can be a research material for your prospects. Right. And I mean, there's a whole technique that you could do on it. I'm just trying to get my head around.
So,
If
so
I were
think,
how
I'm sorry.
how I could evangelize that to a new salesperson.
So think about it. If you wrote something, right? And you had some interesting content and you're prospecting a new client.
Mhm.
Hey, look, I found this article for you. Please let me know
Yeah.
if you might be interested in it, or if you have any questions on it. I wrote this, and this is,
Yeah,
I
what do you
think is
think?
relevant to your business or to some of your business processes.
Right.
And it's that other way of the masses who send you the LinkedIn emails. We can save you money. We can generate leads for you.
Right.
It's et cetera, et cetera. At least you're giving these people some content, whether it's video or whether it's written content that they can digest at their own
Right.
leisure.
Right. They can read it on a Sunday night, right before, when they're doing their planning and stuff like that for the week. I've seen that happen a lot actually, and over the vacation. All right, well that's good. Any advice though on how to turn in people out to go out and knock on doors more in today's environment? Boy,
Yeah,
because look
yeah.
at downtown skyscrapers aren't as full as they used to be. I don't know.
Right. So, I've never worked in a big city. I don't know. I can only imagine what it's like. Um, I know in the suburbs, especially, I'm in that megalopolis area.
Yeah.
I mean, I could spend every day in my territory for a year and probably not hit the same account twice. That's how much
Which
business
is,
is out there.
that's about right.
But
Yeah.
companies can say, you're, as much as you have to make X amount of phone calls, we want you have to make, X amount of stop-ins.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
the reps got to make sure those stop-ins are going to be quality stop-ins, right? You want the accounts that have the bigger equipment, the multiple equipment, or there's still a paper-based company, right? And they're still pushing a lot of paper.
Hmm. Yeah. So you've got to put a profile together and make sure they match. So, and that could be anything from size to, you don't want salons, but you might want salons. You might
Correct,
want
or what,
automotive.
or maybe what existing information also already resides in your CRM.
Which, yeah.
Go pick out 20, 30 that you think are that you want to break into, and solicit them, right? But you can't do it only. So years ago, did you ever hear of the box approach,
I don't know.
box marketing?
Doesn't sound familiar, but
So I'm going to end this on our box marketing, what I was taught,
all right.
right? And this is before the internet,
Okay.
right? Stop in, cold call, right? 90 days. So you did your first one, stop in for X amount of accounts, whatever it is. Your next thing would be to write them a letter, right? Your next thing would to make sure you took out in some type of, if you're going vertical marketing, an ad journal, right?
Wow.
And the third one would be the phone. The fourth one would be the phone call. right?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go over that. Stop in. Letter, snail mail. Some type of advertisement and something they're going to read,
Wow.
and then a phone call. But now it can be stop in, email, post on LinkedIn tagging them, phone call.
Mhm.
And you do that every 90 days.
Hmm.
It works.
Would you put those at tier? What kind of tier would you put? I mean, that sounds like a good process, right? And it's a 90-day process, and that's just to score the appointment, right?
That is
Right.
that is correct. Or in some cases, you can get they can read they I've had instances where they've reached out to me before
Mhm.
the 4 cycles
Yeah, the
and
90
said,
days.
hey, there's an interest, or I have a question. Can you help me? But the theory is if you're in this for the long haul, you do it over and over and
Yeah.
over.
The
You
cycle
just
that continues,
repeat
yeah.
that process. So think of it, you're an account, right? And let's say you've got a top 100 list. A top 100 list is 100 accounts
Mhm.
that the company believes that these accounts are the ones that we want and we want to get into. So you use the box approach for those 100. Of
All right,
course,
so you,
you
I,
go ahead.
God, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's a formula. So, well, hey, so you've had success at that, right? That's a formula. That's a component of your sales formula, your sales process, your sales way, right?
I've had success at that. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. And I've had more and more people talk to me about the success that they've had just marketing through LinkedIn, which at first I was kind of suspicious, but now I'm thinking, yeah, there probably is something to that. I mean, there were days when no way you would never think you'd get a sale off of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
In the early days, no way. Now it's more often. It happens more often. Um, Actually, it happens a lot. I mean, I think that's because the sales have changed, SaaS and everything like that. You can conceivably close a deal in 15, 20 minutes. That's what cracks me up in certain industries.
Correct.
I'm still trying to get my head around it.
I've never had a lot of sales from LinkedIn
Right.
for copiers. It's few and far between. But I've said this to you before. Guys like you and me, we monitor who looks at our profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
I meet dozens of people each and every month. I've got hundreds of clients. Yet nobody logs into my profile.
Oh. Oh. Okay. So you're talking, you have hundreds of clients and you meet dozens of people a month and
No one logs in to
they
check
don't
me
go
out.
into your,
Correct.
that's interesting.
Now, I don't know if I don't think I'm that boring, but
Art, well,
could be,
that's
right?
interesting. Good. Well, it wouldn't be you. It'd be like the industry.
Well, I mean, if I mean, wouldn't you want to learn more about that person?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's
So,
funny?
so here's the thing: do the CEOs and the C-level execs do they really have any time to do that?
Maybe they don't.
Right? Are they delegating it to somebody else?
I know for a fact that a lot of them are. Even content generation. That's part of the gig. Is I don't want to work on LinkedIn. I don't want to be on LinkedIn and stuff like that.
Because they don't want to get
Interesting.
inundated with that.
Well, I can't blame. And I've got too many seed level things to do.
Oh, I completely understand.
Yeah, that I get. But they are consuming content somewhere. So back to your original, you want to have content that is enticing. It's God dang, it is like the old days when you would and forgive me for saying this because I hated working, or when you would send information to a PA, purchasing agent, that was obviously over the pay scale of the purchasing agent. It was more of a C level, in hopes that he would or she would take that to the C level. I mean, physically, this is before the interwebs,
Correct.
Here's an article I read. I thought about you guys. What do you think of it? And then he would look at it and go, well, that's real interesting, but well, maybe my C would take a look at it and make him look good, and thereby you look good because you were able to put that information into that organization.
Right.
That's the old days, and that would be, and as goofy as that sounds, nice, that was a valid approach that did work, right?
Right.
Nowadays, how do you get some content? Again, if I'm a C guy and I'm rarely going to go out and look for a blog or something that is created by a salesperson. So you have to get up over that too. Which you can do. I'm saying, no, it can be done. So there's more to it than just posting stuff like that. Oh, this is a can of worms, Art. I don't know where to go with it. I really don't right now.
Yeah, so we started out with net new business. We started out with how to find net new business. We found out then moved to what you should have in your pipeline, depending upon how much net new business you need monthly or annual. And then we moved into net new video content, net new blog or writing content, and that the transition from writing blogs is now moving towards video. But what I see on video, except for a couple of players in our industry, just isn't there yet. And then we've moved to, who's consuming that content when someone like me has 98% of the people checking out my profile. My profile is kind of weird too, because I have a tremendous amount of salespeople in that also, for my Print for Pay hotel.
Right.
But there is X amount of people that I meet with daily. And, on my email signature, I put my personal LinkedIn link there.
Your profile. Yeah.
Right. And I could say that's not even being clicked.
Yeah.
So with that, let's save some stuff for next week.
Oh, okay.
Greg,
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much. It's always a pleasure chatting.
Always a pleasure, Art. This is fun. I like
Yeah.
this kind of stuff.
Everybody, please check out the threads we're leaving on YouTube, and please subscribe, like, follow.
Hit us up with some questions too.
Yeah,
It's a blast.
ask us anything.